we knew that the defense was accusing Becky Hill, the court clerk, of allegedly tampering with the jury. And as I understand it, they have at least one juror who is saying under oath, she said to us before Alec testified, watch his body language, and something to the effect of, be skeptical. And now you have other jurors who say, no, we didn't see that. That's not what we heard or saw. And I think you have two other jurors who say, we heard her say the thing about the body language, but not that second part. Now, all of this could be very problematic for the prosecution. The way I understand it is if this judge says, the judge is going to have to find one of two things. There was interference with the jury and he gets a new trial, or the standard is there's interference and it affected the outcome. And if that's the legal standard, you have to prove it affected the outcome. Alex Murdaugh is in a worse position. So the legal standard may decide how this comes down. But either way, what Becky Hill did or didn't do is at the heart of the case. And she and the juror are going to be facing off because she denies the charges. So what have we learned about Becky in the past couple of months that may negatively affect her going into this battle?
Well, we've learned quite a bit, Megyn, and thank you for having me, by the way. I appreciate you having me on. And I would point out, in addition to those allegations of jury tampering, there's also an allegation that's been put forward that Becky Hill conspired to have a juror that she believed to be favorable to Alex Murdaugh thrown off of the panel. And in fact, there was a juror removed. Yeah, that's correct. Egg lady removed the day of the verdict. So it's a little more than just tampering. There's actually allegations of a conspiracy to manipulate the composition of the jury. But yeah, you outlined the standards very well. The state has to prove, or the state's alleging that Murdaugh has to prove not only that there was tampering, but that it changed people's minds, that it impacted the verdict. Whereas the defense is saying, hey, all we've got to prove is that there was tampering. And what's really interesting about this case is, at least in South Carolina, there is no case law. There is no precedent that relates to the specific set of circumstances that we're dealing with. So former Chief Justice Jean Toll, who has been tasked with deciding whether or not Alex Murdaugh gets a new trial, she's going to have a lot of discretion.
All right, so they're going to go in there at the end of the month, and they're going to have testimony about what Becky Hill did or didn't do. In the meantime, let's just start with the book, because that's interesting. She wrote a memoir, which is very unusual to have a court clerk write a memoir about the case, and she had a co-author on it, and whatever, they self-published. Okay, it was weird, but now it comes out she plagiarized, and it's okay to use that word because she's admitted it. Tell us about that.
That's correct. She admitted plagiarizing excerpts of a story that was printed. I think it was a BBC reporter that she lifted some copy from and included it in the book. And as you acknowledged, she's admitted it. This is not up for debate. But this is just really the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the bad news that Becky Hill has been dealing with over the last few months. And, you know, Megyn, I think it's important to point out, Becky Hill is somebody that during this trial really stood out. All the media who covered this story, she had great relationships with everyone. She was someone that everyone really loved, got to know very well. And so to have all this come out, you know, it's been very difficult for a lot of folks who, you know, really got to know her very well during the process. But well,
I mean, they're basically alleging in these, and we'll get to it, that she's almost a serial criminal. I mean, that she's done many illegal acts. On the book, I'll just put a period at the end of that story. The co-author has since pulled the book and said he never wants to work with her or have anything more to do with her again. And we find out that one of my favorite pieces of the story is, how did Becky only had to write like the prologue to the book? The co-author did all the labor on the book. So she had one thing to do. And it turns out the way she plagiarized was a BBC reporter had inadvertently sent a draft of an article the BBC reporter was working on about the Murdaugh case to Becky, because the reporter's editor was named Becky too. And so we've all been there. And then you just say, hey, sorry, could you disregard that? Didn't mean to send that to you. Apparently Becky Hill was like, yeah, no problem. I got you, girl. And she stole it and made it her prologue of her book. You can't make this up.
And again, these are the least of her problems, really, which is why this is also fascinating.
Okay, so get to that. Get to the law enforcement investigation into her and her son, which it turns out we do believe is related.
Oh, they're absolutely related. And all this started back in November. Our news outlet reported exclusively that Becky Hill's son Colt Hill had been arrested for one count of wiretapping. Now, at the time, it was not revealed what that count of wiretapping was related to. We have since learned that it was part of an effort to keep Becky Hill abreast of 2 state ethics commission investigations that have been underway for the past few months into the book. There have been allegations that she abused her position of public trust to enrich herself, gaining access to materials for the book. There's also an investigation and allegations that she misappropriated taxpayer money and then lied about it to members of the county council down there in Colleton. So those are the 2 ethics complaints she's facing. But this week, we reported earlier this week, State Law Enforcement Division has confirmed a criminal investigation into those allegations of abusing her office for personal gain. And again, why does this matter? Well, Megyn, those are at the very heart of the defense's motion for a new trial, the allegation that she rigged the jury to benefit herself to sell copies of this book.
Oh my gosh. I mean, this is, when you first heard it from the defense, you're like, no way, this is a desperate defense measure to try to undo this massive, terrible jury verdict against their client. But they've got it. I mean, they are very well positioned going into this thing. My feeling is the only way they lose this is if the judge chooses the legal standard that says, and you have to show that it affected the outcome, in which case they might lose and Alec could stay in jail. If not, he's going to get a new trial. So the thing about the son is, as I understand it, the son was like the chief tech guy for the court system. And how it looks, and you tell me, is she was being investigated for some of these ethical breaches that were suspected. And she said to the son, or he said to her, let's wiretap the investigator who's looking at, so that the son would find out all that they knew and then report it back to the mom.
Well, it's actually, excuse me, Megyn, it's actually a little worse than that. The individual they were wiretapping is the county administrator, or the deputy administrator rather, who was on the phone with the investigators. And so one of the things that we've uncovered is in the weeks since all this started breaking, since Becky Hill was first aware that she was being investigated, we've also been able to confirm that in addition to her son being arrested, we're now dealing with the potential obstruction of justice related to this case because we've got 2 cell phones that he has allegedly destroyed. We've got 2 that were factory reset before they were turned over to investigators in an attempt to, I guess, scrub data off of them. And the cell phone that Becky Hill used during the trial that could have all sorts of evidence on it, all sorts of information, is missing. Oh my goodness. She turned in a cell phone to investigators that was different than the one they specifically requested in their search warrant. So, we're not only looking at these jury tampering allegations, corruption allegations, but now we've got potential obstruction of justice tied to this as well.
That is very convenient that cell phone has gone missing. And yeah, so I read your report, and you guys should check out Fitz News if you want to read, because the details are all there. Will lays them out very well. They had county issued cell phones because they work for the county, and they transferred their phone numbers over from their Samsung county issued phones to new iPhones, but then they still had the old phones, and those phones have been scrubbed of all data.
Some have been scrubbed, some have been destroyed. And again, the most important one, Becky Hill's cell phone, we don't know where it is.
And the timing of it, Will, the timing of when they did the scrubbing is also suspicious, no?
It's very suspicious. The 2 cell phones that were destroyed, this took place when Becky Hill's son was first approached by law enforcement and asked to come in for questioning. So he gets the call, hey, we want to question you. He destroys those 2 cell phones, allegedly. And Becky Hill's cell phone goes missing the day that the jury tampering allegations were first leveled against her last September by Alex Murdaugh's attorneys. So, yeah, it's not only what's happened, but it's the timing of what's happened that could be very significant moving forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's make a resolution that's easy to keep and delivers immediately on its promise. With Genucel Skincare, you can turn back the clock and look 5, 10, even 15 years younger. And right now, Genucel Skincare is celebrating 2024 with its New Year's sales event. Save over 70% off all your Genucel must-haves in their most popular package. Say goodbye to those fine lines, forehead wrinkles, sagging jawlines, dark marks, skin redness, even under-eye bags, and leave them behind in 2023. For women and men, safe for all skin types, and perfect for skin of any age. Plus, with its immediate effects product, Genucel promises results guaranteed or 100% of your money back. For a limited time, Genucel's top-selling hyaluronic acid serum is included free in every most popular package. Maximum skin hydration for a more youthful appearance. Go to Genucel.com/MK60 and enter MK60 at checkout for extra savings. Every order upgraded to free shipping. Don't wait. Genucel.com/MK60. GENUCEL.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.